Welcome back to the most disturbing TikToks on the internet today. For context, don't believe everything you hear or see on this video. It is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research on everything. Before we get started, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for your boy, and let's dive in. Did he really just prove the flood happened?
Do you know the world right now is scarred with the evidence of a global flood? You know about the Marianas Trench and all these deep water trenches where we can't, how you think they got there? The scripture says the fountains of the deep burst open, leaving all around the planet massive cracks in the floor. Scientists have found plankton at the top of mountains, an organism that only grows underwater. When the scripture says the waters rose above the highest mountain. Come on, man. Y'all playing around. The scripture says that ship came to rest on the mountains of Ararat in the Middle East. The bottom of that ship has been found in the 1940s by a pilot flying over the mountains. They have found petrified wood, petrified iron, and an anchor stone with the names of 8 people on it. There is a town near that mountain that was named after Noah. The Lord said that there was a firmament, a ground between the waters above and the waters beneath. There was a layer of water that wrapped the whole world. Where you think all that rain came from to fill the earth above the highest mountain? That water probably protected people from aging too fast. That's why they lived for 400, 500, 600, 800 years. And after the flood, you see the lifespan of man going all the way down. Dealing with that hot sun with no water.
There's also a place called Sharktooth Mountain in California, and on that mountain you can find shark teeth everywhere. So it's just fascinating to me that you're able to find actual petrified shark tooths all around the mountain.
They are slowly pulling back the secrets of Antarctica, y'all. Scientists said they discovered a land underneath Antarctica, y'all. And they had this information for a while. I'm talking about, they said there are trees, there are ridges, lakes, rivers, and green evergreen grass. So I started thinking, like, y'all had this information for this long and y'all just telling us? And then it make you think everybody has their theories on what's going on in Antarctica beyond the ice walls, right? So could we possibly really be right about this? Why are they now telling us that there is a whole underground world underneath Antarctica? All that ice. Why now? Is it something about to happen where we're about to get revealed something deep and dark about Antarctica? Is it because the ice is melting? What is it? What do y'all think? Because they didn't have to come out and tell us anything. So why now? And if they can withhold information like this for this long and tell us, how much information are they withholding from us right now that they didn't tell us? This shit don't mess with y'all mind just to know that it's so many things we don't know, so many things we are not told the truth on. We all know that Antarctica is the most protected place on Earth by every nation around the world. But the question we don't know is why?
The Antarctic Treaty. Why are they so protective of it is the main question. Why do many people now believe that the Grand Canyon is ancient Egypt?
There is no one that can convince me that ancient Egypt wasn't in the Grand Canyon. I mean, you just need to look. Like, have a look at these structures. That's the only way that you can describe it. Look at this. They look like pyramids, like sphinxes. This looks like an ancient city. Look at this. There's a very consistent theme all around the world of these megalithic old structures that went through some sort of heat event. You can see here, this is like a pyramid, the Sphinx. This is not natural rock formation, guys. There's a lot of people that notice this. Look at this. Clearly, something was here before. And we all know that they found caves and ancient Egyptian artifacts and iconography within the Grand Canyon already. So this theory isn't just, out of thin air. right? Like I'm observing and I'm seeing everything and I'm understanding that more than likely ancient Egypt existed right in the United States, right in the Grand Canyon. Look at all this. These are not natural rock structures. Look at this, guys. Very obvious to me. Very obvious to me. But let me know what you guys think. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, let us know.
I still haven't been to the Grand Canyon. I can't wait to go. I got to figure out one of these days, probably 2 years from now, I might plan a trip. But your boy is on a mission right now.
Let's go in. The last major reset occurred between the mid-1700s and late 1800s, roughly 250 to 150 years ago. This reset wasn't just war or disease. It was a global memory wipe, infrastructure repopulation, and narrative overwrite. They used mud floods, fires, engineered natural disasters, and selective rewriting of history to wipe Tartaria and erase what came before. Now here's the strange part. The Capitol buildings, World's Fair structures, old world cathedrals, domed geometries, these were already here. We didn't build them, we inherited them. Photos from the 1800s show cities fully built, yet nearly empty. No scaffolding, no construction, just there. And the stories, always the same, built in a few years, then burned down. Now enter the Orphan trains and Cabbage Patch Kids. Between 1854 and 1929, over 200,000 shipped across the U.S. by train. No parents, no background, just orphans. But where did all the orphans come from? They were reset survivors, children with no memory, no lineage, placed into repopulated cities to seed a new narrative. Why? Because adults remember. Children can be programmed. Cabbage Patch Kids, the dolls said to be grown in the Cabbage Patch, are symbolic disclosure. Born from the earth, no parents. Just like the Orphan trains, the name is not innocent, it's encoded truth. The U.S. wasn't founded and built from scratch. It was inherited, cleansed, and rebranded. The buildings were Tartarian. The reset was intentional. And now the memory is coming back. Because people like you are asking the right questions. Let's go in. The last
Question everything.
It's a persimmon. But there's
The first. Can we transfer power through water?
I kept thinking about my hometown of Rockaway. I'm from Brooklyn, but been here forever. And I kept thinking about my hometown of Rockaway. I'm from Brooklyn, but been here forever. And this building, the Rockaway Courthouse, they call it, always stuck out to me, you know? But I never thought anything of it because it wasn't that big, that tall, you know? But look at this thing. Look at this thing. For 1931, in a beach town community, this looks like a freaking castle. Why would they have something like this? All bungalows, beach houses, stuff like that. Not even like seasonal guests, you know, not like a lot of all year round residents. But this building, right by Jamaica Bay, the water's right there. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but this doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense. Big windows. We'll go around the corner. Let's see what's going on with this.
And whenever you see an old structure like this, I almost can guarantee that there's some type of underground tunnel system connecting these ancient structures to all the nearby ancient structures. That's for another deep rabbit hole.
Come on. Tallest building in New York for who? The king and the queen? So we won the revolution. Come on. Make it make sense. This is out of a movie. A movie. I don't know the name. I know it's not true. Based on fictional characters. Made up. Look at this beautiful thing. Make it make sense. 15 Park right there. City Hall right there. Manhattan Municipal Building. The beauty that is right there. New York City Hall. 1812. 100 years later. Allegedly, the Woolworth Building. On a beautiful first day of fall in New York City. None of it's making sense. But still, I love taking it all in. This is some beautiful stuff. Who and whenever they built it. Make it make sense. Sound off with only smart answers in the comments. No regurgitating AI unless it's factual. Make it make sense. Make me be wrong, please.
What if I told you dinosaurs might have never existed at all? Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy, but stay with me. The word dinosaur wasn't even created until 1842. And guess what? That's also around the same time the first dinosaur bones just happened to be discovered. Before that, nothing. No talk of giant lizards, no museum bones, no ancient records calling them by name. And here's the part that gets real weird. We've never found a full dinosaur skeleton, ever. Just random bones, scattered, broken, and dug up by people who get paid to find them. Then, museums take those pieces and build giant skeletons based on guesses. They even use plaster and fake bones to fill in the gaps. So ask yourself, what if the idea of dinosaurs was created to support something else? To help push the theory of evolution? To make us feel small and unimportant in a long, random universe? And what about all those ancient stories of dragons, giant creatures with wings and scales? Why were those erased and replaced with scientific versions called dinosaurs? You didn't see the fossils. You saw cartoons, museums, Hollywood. That's not proof. That's a program. Maybe dinosaurs were never real. Maybe they were just the cover story. What if
The cover story from Dragons? Interesting. And I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park. I love all of them, especially the originals. Even the new stuff is entertaining, but it does make you think all this stuff was recently created. It's not adding up.
I dare you to try to explain the 100-ton granite boxes at the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt. There's 24 of these massive granite enclosures, and you won't believe the official explanation for them. All 24 of them were moved into this underground complex, dating to about 1400 BC, where they now sit. And the craftsmanship of these boxes is once again insane. Perfect right angles and parallel sides leveled with machine-like precision, you know the drill. Made of granite, which reminder is harder than steel, using bronze and stone tools that are softer than granite. Like, you know, using a plastic knife to cut through a car door. Try that out and let me know how it goes. But never mind that. I've already said it 100 times about all these other artifacts and ancient architecture throughout ancient Egypt, because these boxes, they're different. Let's start with the sheer size. About 100 tons each, and barely even fit through the hallways they would need to pass through to be placed in the pits that they currently sit in. As we can see from this unfinished box here that was abandoned in one of the passageways at the Serapeum. If you couldn't tell, they're also made from a single piece of granite each, so it's not like they took smaller pieces and just glued them together. One big ass brick of granite, hollowed out from the inside into a perfect box, absolutely zero room for any mistakes. And I find it extremely difficult to imagine how, once again, this sawing method could hollow out a granite box like this with flawless accuracy. Because 100 tons is a lot. The experts claim that we might be able to move 100-ton objects using primitive methods as long as we had enough people, which according to them is about 400. Tell me, how on earth would 400 people be able to coordinate moving 100-ton blocks in cramped hallways like these and around these super tight corners? For reference, this is what 400 people looks like. All stuffed in there. Not to mention, the boxes were perfectly placed in the center of rooms even smaller than the hallways. Where do we have room for 400 people there? And I don't know if you noticed, but these hallways and pits are currently lit up with modern lighting, which the ancient Egyptians obviously didn't have. This Serapeum would have been pitch black day and night 3,400 years ago, but of course they still had fire and torches that served this exact purpose, right? Except they found no evidence of soot, the leftover scorches from torch fire, anywhere on the walls or ceilings in this complex, as they would normally find in dark underground passageways. Any commonsensical person would imagine that a project like this would have taken thousands of hours of work in torchlit chambers, yet not a shred of proof of that anywhere. So what did they use to see in the dark back then? And the entire Saqqara necropolis itself is dug into limestone bedrock. There's no granite found here, so they couldn't have chiseled these in place either, as some may suggest. What we do know is that these boxes were important, like super duper important. But for what? Clearly an undertaking of this scale would have surely held a higher purpose for their civilization. I mean, they definitely weren't tombs. They're obviously way too big, right? Nope, they still call them tombs. Made for, get this, the pharaoh's prized bulls. Yes, Bull tombs. They said it, so it must be real. Now, upon discovery in 1850, most of these boxes were already open. Their lids either gone or moved over, so whatever was inside had likely already been stolen. You know, by those pesky thieves that conveniently steal everything that historians have no evidence of. But they found one box that was completely sealed, lid fully intact, so the bull skeleton must still be inside. A perfect opportunity to prove this theory. Well, firstly, they couldn't lift the lid, which is only about 30 tons, as they weren't able to get enough manpower in the room to even budget. Yet the Egyptians somehow moved the entire 100-ton blocks themselves into those rooms thousands of years earlier. Makes sense. So they did the only logical thing that anyone from the 1800s would do in such a scenario. Blow it the up with TNT. Yeah, for real. Archaeology was pretty savage back then, which finally revealed the truth that the boxes at the Serapeum of Saqqara were filled with nothing. Absolutely nothing. No mummy, no bull skeletons, no gold or treasure, nada. They did find mummified bull carcasses in a bunch of wooden sarcophagi, as would be expected, in an area called the Lesser Gallery, but not a single one found in any of the granite boxes. Cause yes, to be fair, the Apis bull was a highly revered deity worshipped by the ancient Egyptians, symbolizing fertility in agriculture and the physical embodiment of their god Ptah. Hope I pronounced that right. I just find it hard to believe that a project of this colossal magnitude, which would have taken years, if not decades to complete, was dedicated to stashing the bodies of dead animals. While at the same time, mummified bulls were found in much smaller, simpler wooden sarcophagi in the Lesser Gallery, which is oddly closed to the public and no images of those exist either. Allegedly proving that this is how they stored bull remains, not this. But then again, I'm just an idiot. Still others claim these boxes may have been power conductors that generated electricity for their civilization, part of the infamous Giza power plant theory, which is a fringe idea that may or may not be true, and I explained it in full in a previous video. So, are these really bull tombs, or just a steaming load of bullshit?
Yeah, I agree with them. I don't think that they put bull carcasses in there. I think something more of the lines of ancient technology was afoot. Was it a conductor? Did they put something inside to make sure it didn't escape? I have no idea, but it does make you wonder that they're not telling us the truth of what they were actually for.
Ever heard of her? Marjorie? The Moorish Countess Marjorie was a dark-skinned Pictish woman from 1256 to 1292 AD. Check the timeline. The daughter of Neil, Niger. Check the spelling. The Earl of Carrack, who was a son of Donachad, same as Duncan, meaning swarthy. Look that word up right there, swarthy. There's going to be a connection there. The Moorish princess married Robert de Bruce and gave birth to a son named Robert the Bruce, who became the first king of the Scottish Bruce dynasty. The princess godson David II became the second king of the House Bruce. Right there. This is why I want to pause it. In Chicago, it's a beer company named Three Floyds. They got a beer that's called Robert the Bruce.
That's not top, guys, by the way.
Her granddaughter, Princess Margaret, also called Marjorie, married Walter Stewart VI. And became the mother of Robert II, who became Scotland's first Stuart king. It was the Stuart dynasty that brought forth today's King James Version of the Bible.
Why didn't you tell me?
That's where you get the foundation of the original King James Version Bible. We've just destroyed everything they told us about who wrote the so-called Bible. The people that wrote the so-called Bible look like you and I. Copper complexion, olive complexion, swarthy complexion. They were not pale skins. You want to go a little further?
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The King James Version of the Bible, which was authorized and named after a Moorish man named King James Stewart in 1611. What else they been hiding? The Bruce dynasty was a direct descendant of David I. David I was the great grandnephew of the Pictish king, King Niger, Kenneth, Duff, Dub, or Duffy.
That reminds me of that Simpsons deer company called Duffy. If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, wait till you see this. All right, this is something a little different, but take a look at this. Geode backsplashes. I don't know if this is AI animated or if this is real, but oh my goodness, this is absolutely stunning. I can't think of, wow. I can't think of a better backsplash to ask. If you ask me, you would have to get some massive specimens, and then I have no idea how this would work. It makes you wonder if this is even real or not.
Landing. Operation Dominic began. A series of 31 missiles were shot straight up into the sky to test how high humans can actually reach. They quickly figured out not far at all.
It seems that whenever they were shooting these missiles up into the sky, they were actually interacting with different layers of this plasma field or this electromagnetic phenomena, and it seems to have fluid-like properties. As it actually hits a certain portion of this force field, if you will, it begins to disperse and seek equilibrium based on the impedance of the electromagnetic layers.
Why is it when we review this footage that these things are exploding? It looks like they're hitting a barrier.
Testing the strength of the firmament, and they weren't able to penetrate it.
What's going on there? What is this? In my opinion, I think that they were trying to find a way to possibly get out. There's a firmament above us.
So everything is as above, so below. Obviously, many people are becoming aware that there's a firmament above that many people are now starting to realize is impenetrable.
No matter what you do, you can't go straight up in the air and keep going.
If you don't know already, this is G14 classified.
At the peak of the Cold War, the CIA uncovered a source who claimed to have found an ancient Babylonian artifact capable of generating temporal portals with the ability to see through time. After recovering the crystalline artifact from the Baghdad Museum raid, Project Looking Glass shifted to Phase 2, construction of a temporal aperture device. The Nevada desert was chosen as the home for the device. Under the guise of nuclear weapons testing, we were able to construct the aperture in complete secrecy. 200,000 tons of structural steel were used, along with 212,000 cubic yards of concrete. The crystalline artifact was stabilized with argon gas. Operators were specially trained psych operatives who were given a combination of psychedelic and emotion-suppressive drugs. This was a necessary component in order to activate and operate the device and focus on specific time periods, past or future. December 12, 1979, first test activation. 3 operators exposed to unfiltered timeline data disappeared upon activation. All clinical staff experienced temporal displacement, with some reporting crossing their own timelines. The project was immediately suspended. The device showed us things, probabilities, warnings. In 2012, it revealed something that forced total shutdown. This footage is all that remains.
Did they have the same type of device that Project Looking Glass was on 13 Ghosts? Now we have a military operative that explains what really happened inside Project Looking Glass. You're not going to want to miss what he has to say.
What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision, no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret. All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future. That is what sends everybody that has all of the information, that knows everything, into a blind panic. The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game, and nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
Project Looking Glass.
When I was in the military, it would have been before 97 when I got in trouble. One of my particular areas that I was amazingly intuitive about is problem solving / mission planning, or more specifically, taking a bad mission and fixing it. Certainly knowing how string theory and possible futures works makes it so you can work your mind very quickly to see the reality of what's happening and decide what decisions need to be made to change it for a particular outcome. At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them this is what's going to happen over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is how do we fix it? What I do know is that I was called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating, and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing. There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast, it's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen. They don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect. Much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. If I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess. Essentially what happened with Looking Glass, not only did they not want people to use it anymore because they knew it was just going to burp out the same thing, but at the same time they didn't want anybody else to know what it was saying, I'm sure. Because that information was a monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability. Now, at first I thought it was end of the world. Now I see end of the world as end of their world. The biggest cherry on top of all this conversation would be a synopsis to say that if I could convince everybody out there that for all intents and purposes, what we believe to be true eventually becomes true. If somebody convinces us that a major disaster is going to happen in the very near future, a major disaster happens in the very near future. If we don't buy into that fear and accept that there's really nothing that we know is going to happen, and accept of whatever happens, that makes the convergence of the timelines happen as naturally as possible. Any attempts to try to go away from this one inevitable conclusion, I again see as a new beginning, an end of this reality, the beginning of something that we can't even possibly understand based on the level of our beliefs currently. But when all that information comes flooding out, there's going to be no denying what's true and what's a lie or what's illusion. Basically what we're experiencing right now is two master chess players sitting at the board. And one of them looks down at the board and sees that he's in checkmate in 7 moves. And he looks across at his opponent and he knows that his opponent sees it too. So there's no getting out of it. So at this point, the loser can only prolong the game. Both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this, and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won. Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win. The only way that checkmate can't happen is if the player that's winning makes a mistake. But from all of the information that I've gathered, all of the information that's been given, all of the information that's been vetted to me, it seems pretty obvious that the good guy player on the side of the chessboard knows exactly what has to be done to win the game. And so at this point, any mistake would be all but impossible. But again, you really have to understand the game to know that the guy that's losing is lost. And I'm sure most people sitting watching a chess match between two advanced chess players know the game's over long after the two players know it's over. Because they can't see the board and see that there's only 7 moves left.
That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is G14 classified. When you drop G14 classified in the comments, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video and you really rock with your boy. It helps me really bang these videos out every day, honestly. You know, speaking to you guys and just interacting, it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate that, honestly. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I don't take this for granted every single day, and I just want to say thank you guys for everything. I meant to double up on you guys yesterday, but as you know, I was having technical difficulties, but I have everything laid out. I've been working diligently trying to find workarounds, and I found it. And I just want to say thank you guys for your patience, and I'll see you later, because I'm doubling up on you today over at Jet Ski Chuck. So yeah, I do have 2 channels. Be sure to head over there for my longer form videos, and I just want to say thank you. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you later.